Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back. We're here to discuss day 18 of the trial for Jacqueline and Trezell West, the adopted parents of Orrin and Orson West, also known as Classic and Sincere. And those are their pictures there to the left. If you this is your first time here, just remind you can go back and look at all of our previous days. We've every day I've just been documenting who they brought up, what's been said, trying to be as thorough as possible to keep everybody in the know. I'm hoping that once this trial is over, we'll have a lot more visual released that we can put out there for you guys as well.
Last week, an interview with the West's oldest biological son was played, and in that he said he saw Orson's lifeless body in the fall of 2020, months before the boys were reported missing.
Okay, so they started out the day with bringing back up Detective Thomas Henderson, who was on the stand Friday. And he is now being questioned by lead defense attorney Tora Stallings for Jacqueline West. And she was asking him if he knows what Orrin and Orson's birthdays were. And Hernandez says he does not recall off the top of his head their birthdays. She asked him if they found a weekly planner for Jacqueline. They did. Hernandez said there was nothing in the planner that was pertinent to their investigation. She also asked him if he suspected that someone may have been casing the West home. Hernandez said that that was not his intention. Oh, wait. So I guess she's basically saying you were casing the home after all this went down, watching Jacqueline and Trezell. She's now asking about surveillance videos with an individual who has not been identified. They played the video, and in the video, two individuals walk down the street and appear to pause next to the West home. Is she referring to them casing the police casing the home, or is she referring to the someone casing the home prior to the boys going missing? That's the part I'm not really sure about where she's going with that. She did ask him again about following up on the Arlington, Texas tip. So he didn't follow up on the tip until after the trial had started. Stop it. It hurts my head. These investigators are killing me, you guys. Hernandez had said that he read the reports of the Cal City officer Brian Hansen, but did not see the videos of their interviews until they were played in court. Nothing wrong with that. This is so sad. Trezell's attorney, he's just like, he doesn't ever ask hardly anything that's worthy. Looking through my notes and through the notes on Twitter, it's like there's nothing really. It's like, oh yeah, he got up and questioned him, but like nothing's been said about it. It's horrible. It's horrible. So while Hernandez is back on the stand, Jacqueline's defense attorney asked about two refrigerators at Maria Martinez's apartment. And Hernandez says he doesn't recall there being two refrigerators and said the apartment wasn't searched. They didn't search Maria Martinez's home. Oh, my word. He said that they were at Maria Martinez's home for about an hour. He said he recalls Jacqueline West cried. There's a Taco Bell receipt from December 8th. And the defense asked if he checked the video footage to see the comings and goings of the West on that date, and he said that he did not, or they did not. She said, moving to the interview of the West's eldest child, Hernandez said he was present for the boys' third interview. He doesn't know what info was provided to Sonia Barton, the social worker who interviewed the child. An updated police report written by Hernandez and other detectives runs to 2,000 pages. Since then, during the trial, supplemental reports have been written. Hernandez said he did not write a report about the first report made by the eldest child to his resource parent. He said he found out that info by second or third hand. And then Torres Styling is attempting to show that the eldest child may have seen certain things about the case online or on the news or been told about them. She displays a photo showing Henderson with the boy's resource parents and the boy as they tried to get passwords for his parents' phone. The boy no longer lives with that resource parent. They have lived with another woman since the end of January of 2021. Hernandez said he went to that residence too to check up on the children. So she asked him if he were aware the eldest child said the first resource parent told him the boys were dead. Then Hernandez is reviewing a report to see if the woman's name was mentioned. He said that she was mentioned during a pretext call with one of the other West children. Hernandez says he wasn't present when the children first testified before the grand jury and doesn't know if their resource parent was present. Moving back to the apartment of Jacqueline West's mother, Hernandez reviewed photos and said there were two refrigerators there. Hernandez said he contacted the neighbor who lived behind the West. Torres Stallings asked if he recalls her telling him the search party took place a couple of days after she saw a man in a red sweater and ski mask, and he said he does not recall that. I mean, there's just holes all through their investigation. So then Stallings asked Hernandez if he came across a journal for Jacqueline, and he said he went through it. It's from 2021. She asked if he was aware Orrin and Orson's birthdays were in the planner, and then a hearsay objection was sustained. Hernandez said he has read the report of an interview with Perla Martinez, Jacqueline West's sister. He said he did not review records to see if there was a call made on December 18th. So then Torres Stallings, well, she showed him copies of the journal, but he said they don't refresh his memory as to the birth dates of Orrin and Orson. So I guess she's just kind of pointing out that he really wasn't paying that close attention to the journal. I don't know. And then she asked him about going on to that interview on July 1st, in which Hernandez was questioning Jacqueline. A pest control person told police he saw six or seven children in the home when he went there, Hernandez said, but he still focused on the Wests as being behind the disappearance of Orrin and Orson. She went back about that surveillance thing on December 19th when they were dropping off the kids in Bakersfield. The four oldest ones in Bakersfield. Okay, let me go back to this. Hernandez said he had read the report of an interview with Perla Martinez, Jacqueline's sister. He said he did not review records to see if there was a call made on December 18th. After reviewing a transcript, Hernandez said correct. What did he say correct to? Hernandez said he contacted the neighbor who lived behind the West's home, and defense asked if he recalls her telling him the search party took place a couple of days after she saw a man in a red sweater and a ski mask, and he said he doesn't recall that. So she must have made him read review the transcript. Okay, so he was trying to figure out what the woman's name was that he spoke to behind the house. You guys remember her? Did I do? I know I meant to do a video on her because she was remember she was kind of like the nosy neighbor. Okay, so there was something about. Oh, well, bless his heart. We did get a question about Hennessy that made the coverage. So Hennessy is asking about a tip from a Hector Rodriguez that led to a home being checked for the boys. Detectives Hernandez said he doesn't recall the name but knows a home was checked. Hennessy asked if the person who made the tip said they had more info but were afraid of physical harm, and Hernandez reviewed the tip. The judge reminded the jury this info is only being allowed for them to consider what Hernandez did in relation to the tips. Hernandez said he followed up on the tip but did not contact the tipster. He said when it came to tips, there were houses, vehicles, and leads they looked in. In this case, police went to the house and didn't find Orrin or Orson. They were asking him about Rodriguez. Well, what does Rodriguez look like? And he said he doesn't remember what he looked like, or he doesn't know what he looked like. And Hennessy asked about Rodriguez being investigated for drug smuggling, and the judge sustained an objection and struck the question from the record. They made him come up on sidebar. Then he was continuing to ask him about Victor Rodriguez, who was another man who lived at the Arlington address. Hernandez said an investigator looked into the matter, and it was determined the children in question were not Orrin and Orson. All right, so then we're going back to Torres Stalling asking questions to him, and she came across a journal for Jacqueline. She's trying to get Hernandez to fumble over his words or whatever. When she showed him the video of the two people walking up the street who stopped at the intersection, not in front of the West home, but at the intersection by the West home, she asks him, You don't know what they were doing? Is that fair to say? And he said, walking. A lot of sidebars called today, you guys. Will say that. There's it got a little huffy. Hernandez said he talked about sexual predators with Jacqueline West during a July 1st, 2021 interview. He said he didn't follow up on the Texas lead until after Hennessy gave his opening statement. God, that looks so bad. Hernandez said he was aware that there was a list pulled of you know what offenders living in Cal City at the time of the reported disappearance. He said he has not followed up on other individuals on that list. I'm sure that there's a lot of people in Cal City that are very thorough. I'm sure Hernandez considers himself thorough. He probably is most of the time, but he sure did mess this up really, really bad. Then on redirect, Hernandez said the pest control guy gave multiple figures as to how many children he saw at the West home. On recross, Torres Stallings asked again about his interview with that man. Okay, so it's a big day because the prosecution has now rested. In her opening statement, she's pulling up photos of the Christmas stockings that they hung at the West home. Okay, so this is kind of a quote of what she said. This is Jackie West and this is Trezell West, and their two youngest boys were taken. But their four oldest boys were taken by the system. Then she brings up the term priming. She said their child psychologist will explain this term. She did a brief timeline of events. She said this timeline will explain when the West's oldest child was primed before his forensic interview at the James Center. She then brings up the first report, which is the first time the West's eldest son reports something to his guardian, and then the guardian then reports this to the police and CPS. They're going to bring Dr. Susan Napolitano to the stand. She's an expert for the defense to testify. She was a forensic interviewer and she now examines interviews. Okay. Torres Styling says Kern County sits uniquely in the history of forensic interviews. Sonia Barton's second interview is inherently biased, she said. She also said that the West's eldest son was primed for 3 years with false memories. She said their expert will be able to show this. Their second expert, Chris Armstrong, will examine the videos the jury has watched during this trial. The outstanding question of where the boys are will still remain, she said. She said Jacqueline West was wrapping gifts she said Jacqueline was wrapping gifts for her 6 children when her 2 youngest were taken. There are no confessions and there is no forensic evidence. All we have is the story of a 10-year-old boy. She said the timeline is important. She said there was a separate investigation that was also occurring at the same time as law enforcement, and that one was conducted by Child Protective Services. There was a proof of life call at Wanda's West residence. Trezell's West mother, who had the other 4 children, where Orrin and Orson were reported missing. On December 22nd, the other children were interviewed by Officer Brian Hansen, who has admitted having no training in interviewing children. The boys were interviewed by Sonia Barton, and at 3 p.m. that day, now Sonia Barton is a CPS interviewer. At 3 p.m. that day, the boys were detained by CPS. On December 23rd, 2020, Barton and a social worker were involved in text communications. The FBI used ground penetrating radar and found no human remains. The West van was forensically analyzed and no evidence was found. Days passed with nothing, she said. The West's eldest child had access to the internet. On December 28, 2020, there is communication, a text message from Barton to Officer Hansen. At 3:36 p.m., the eldest child is interviewed by Barton a third time. She said it's unknown who was present or why they were present, what info was given to the child, and how that impacted him. The defense's expert witness, Dr. Susan Napolitano, will testify to see how these things can impact a child's testimony. Napolitano will talk about the history of forensic interviews, the mass hysteria of child, you know, what cases that happened in the 80s as a result of forensic interviews, and which nearly all defendants have been exonerated. I knew her name sounded very familiar. Okay. Napolitano will talk about the importance of confirmation bias. She said she'll look at Hanson's videos, all three of the eldest child's interviews, and how Barton's second interview of him was very suggestible, browbeating a child into saying what she wants. Napolitano will conclude, taking all of the data points she has evaluated, that there was implantation, coercive techniques that made the eldest child susceptible to false memories. Another expert witness will be Chris Armstrong, and he will testify to the videos of surveillance footage showing the West home. She said Armstrong enhanced those videos and took a still from December 19th, 2020, and will show someone carrying a child to the van. Armstrong will also testify to a car seen in another video that he will say stopped, reversed, and went forward again. Now, she said stay, but I think she meant showed. Armstrong will testify to contrast ratios, luminosity studies, etc. At the conclusion of our case, it is still a tragedy. The outstanding question of where the boys are will still remain. However, there will be reasonable doubt, and the jury will find that Jacqueline and Trezell not guilty on all accounts. Ooh, she's good, y'all. She is good. When she finished her closing statements, they brought up Christopher Armstrong. He is an accident reconstructionist. He performed work on video and still images for the defense in this case. He has testified 30 times in his career, 3 in a criminal proceeding. All of this, along with his career, is offered as qualifications for his expert testimony. He's being paid $295 an hour for his testimony, and he said he believes the county is paying his company. Armstrong reviewed the Bakersfield Police Department report, several surveillance videos taken from the home next to the West home, photographs and aerial views of the West home and surrounding area. Armstrong testified he enhanced video using similar techniques as to what an FBI witness testified to earlier in the trial. He enhanced videos from December 19th and December 21st. Tora Stallings has shown Armstrong an image, and he's describing what he did to enhance it, and she's going to play the video. Tora Stallings asked how people's perception of videos can impact what they see, and Armstrong said light and contrast can change how we perceive things. In the video, the camera changes from a light view to a night view, and Armstrong said that this would have impacted what the camera would have picked up and what a person would have been able to see. Tora Stallings is showing an image from the surveillance video of the West home on December 19th of 2020. She played the video. Armstrong took a still of a second in the video where an individual walks out of the home, and Armstrong said someone appears to be holding something. Okay. Armstrong testified one of the video of the West home on December 21st shows lights in the background that, in his opinion, correspond with the motion of a car on the roadway. He said that the video shows someone open the right door of the West van, but you can't see who it is. You can see the door open, but can't see the person because they're wearing dark clothes and there's very little reflective light. So she then asked him about what someone 3 feet tall wearing dark clothes. What about someone 3 feet tall wearing dark clothes? What about someone? So then Tora Stallings asked him, well, what about someone 3 feet tall wearing dark clothes? If you can't see them in the video, does that mean that they're not on the video? And Armstrong says, no. You can't say something isn't there just because you can't see it due to the contrast in the video. Oh, okay. So just because we couldn't see it on the video, that just puts oh my goodness. Okay. He said two small children would be much harder to see than if an adult opened the door. The clothing and the color of their skin could also make it more difficult to see them. The darker the clothing and the skin color, the more difficult it is to see in video taken at night. She then ended her questioning with him, and then Smith got up to cross examine, and he was asking Armstrong what software he used. So, what happens? So, prosecutor Smith asks, what happens when you zoom in to the footage? Armstrong said it makes it larger. Smith said the quality diminishes the more it's zoomed in, though, too, right? And then Armstrong testified he saw no one else in the backyard, even on his enhanced footage, other than a person in the backyard previously pointed out by the prosecution. Okay, wait, let me go back up. Armstrong said he saw no one else in the backyard, even on his enhanced footage. Because I guess at one point they were saying there was somebody in the backyard. So Smith got him to say that he saw no one else in the backyard, even on his enhanced footage, other than a person in the backyard previously pointed out by the prosecution. He said, did you observe? Prosecutor Smith asked him if he observed two small children at any point, and he said no. Then, under redirect, Armstrong testified to what could be a sign behind the height of the fence given the measurements he was giving. The next witness, so Pamela Castillo, she's basically a child protective services social worker, okay? On the day that she got the case, she got a paper with names and began doing background checks. She said her first point of contact was the FBI. She said the boys were most likely at the Jameson Center or a foster home at that point. She testified she had a couple of conversations with social worker Sonia Barton on the morning of December 23rd. She said she hadn't yet communicated with the resource parent with whom the child were staying. On December 24th, 2020, she went to a hearing to file a petition to keep the children in custody while the investigation continued. Then over the weekend, she talked with a lieutenant at the Cal City Police Department. They asked if she followed the case at all on the news or on Facebook, and Castilla said, I think I tend to follow all cases. Castillo, questioned by Torres Stallings, said she's aware her text messages and emails regarding this case have been provided to the attorneys. Torres Stallings asked her if she examined the emergency response referral in this case, and she said yes, but hasn't seen it in a long time. Torres Stallings then handed her a copy of it. She confirmed the referral form only related to Orrin and Orson, not the other West children, and it was for general neglect. Castilla said on December 22nd, 2020, she became aware she would be assigned to the case. Torres Stallings asked who she heard about it from, and Castilla said not from social worker Sonia Barton, but she started speaking with her about it that day. Castilla said it's a small office. They all talk about different cases when they come in. To the best of my knowledge, yes, Castilla said when asked if the children were detained at 3 p.m. on December 22nd, 2020. And Torres Stallings asked her if she thought they had enough evidence to detain the children, and she said, I do, and the judge thought so as well. So then they asked her if she was aware if there was an issue with the initial contact with the children, and she said no, a sidebar had been called. Are they trying to say hearsay? That could be hearsay. Okay, so the judge and attorneys got back, and then Castillo had said she had not reviewed the emails from DHS that were provided in this case. Castilla said she believes corrections were later made to documents provided to the court. She said county counsel suggested it. She testified she contacted Officer Brian Hansen at 11:05 a.m. on December 28, 2020, because she received information about what may have happened to Orrin or Orson. She couldn't reach him, and she followed up with the FBI. On that same day, she contacted Sonia Barton to schedule a forensic interview. Then Torres Stallings asked if Barton was panicked, and Castilla said she was a little nervous. Then they took a break. Let me check one other thread. Castilla said that the information she had to share with Officer Hansen was the information that would be the third interview with the West's eldest son. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, so Tori Stallings was trying to make it sound like, well, weren't you rushed because it was Christmas time? People were trying to go on vacation. She said to the best of her knowledge, the West children were detained on December 23rd, 2020 at 3 p.m. She agreed she was rushed because it was Christmas time. Can you imagine? Right before Christmas, these little bugs get pulled out of their home. Bless their hearts. And, you know, I hope that their foster parents went above and beyond for them because of what they were going through, but you know that they'll never, nothing they could have done would have helped, probably. Because to them, that was their mom and dad, even if we all know they're not good people. That was what they knew as mom and dad. Tim Hennessy says, now Stallings asked in the court of your job, is the emergency response referral something you document? And she said, yes, it was. She said she remembers talking to the FBI and attending a forensic interview. She says a few Bakersfield Police Department officers and representatives from the district attorney's office attended the forensic interview. When she was given a transfer of custody, she is given 48 hours to do it. She remembers being up late on December 23rd and rushing to court to turn it in by December 24th. She agreed it is fair to say she watched the story about this case on the news. She said if she had a transfer of custody, that means law enforcement already detained the kids. So they were either at the Jameson Center at that point or already in their foster family's home. And she also said that because they were looking at physical abuse allegations, she first contacted law enforcement. Now they're going to recall Sonia Barton. Now, Sonia Barton is the social worker who they're really pushed on, that they say that she, led the children to say what they said. At one point when she's pointing out this whole thing about the emergency response referral was only about Orrin and Orson and it didn't apply to the other 4 children. So are they trying to say that the state took the other 4 children before they should have? I would think that if something like this occurs, if there's question as to whether children have been hurt by a parent, that automatically gives them the right to remove all the rest of the children from the home. You'd think. I don't know. So Sonia Barton interviewed the 4 oldest children of the Wests. And when she was interviewing them, she interviewed them at the Jameson Center. Now, I think a majority of the interviews, if not all of them, have been played in front of the court already at this point, right? So they bring up one of the videos, and it's the second interview with the West's oldest biological son from December 22nd, 2020. And now, just so you guys know, this is Hennessy questioning her. She confirmed that she and Castillo were discussing different scenarios where Orrin or Orson were not in the same house. Wait, they were discussing different scenarios where Orrin and Orson were not in the home. She said she's not a person doing the investigation. It was just conversation. Like, where could they have gone? Okay. She confirmed that they did not discuss the alternate scenario that the children were kidnapped. Now, while they were playing that second interview, they did hand out transcripts of the interview to the jury. And they replayed that whole video. Barton was asking the child about discipline in the house, and the boy said his father will either give him a tongue lashing or make them sit in the corner. Barton asked about being forced to take cold showers. The boy said he's never had a cold shower as a form of punishment, and he thinks sometimes the showers were turned on cold but just needed to warm up. Oh, so he's saying, well, they turned them on, but they hadn't warmed up yet. Okay. Barton tells the boys all of his other brothers talk about the cold showers. The boy says Orrin and Orson took cold showers too. Oh, okay. So it was a bad water heater. Is that what we're blaming it on? Is that who took Orrin and Orson, the bad water heater? Barton reminds the boy he said he would tell the truth and ask if he doesn't see anything going on inside the house or not hear it or what. The boy denies being spanked with a belt and bleeding. The boy says he thinks his brothers exaggerated the punishment. The boy said there is nothing that's gone on at his house that he's concerned about. Maybe they hadn't played this one yet, y'all. Then the video was over, and Tora Stalling ended her questioning, and Timothy Hennessy for Trezell got up to question. And Barton confirmed she conducted forensic interviews on all the boys, and it was on December 28th, 2020, that the eldest boy said he saw Orrin die. Prior to that, he didn't say that. Barton said she's aware the purpose of forensic interviews is to make sure the children tell the truth and aren't improperly influenced. Between December 22nd and the 28th, Barton said she came to the conclusion the parents were lying after seeing the interview the parents gave to the news and interviewing the children for the first time. Yeah, see, they were watching. Hennessy was asking about Facebook stories that Barton shared with another social worker that weren't true and how Barton kept falling for them. She confirmed that's true. These kids just need to spill the beans already, right? Barton said, yeah, that was what was written. Oof, not good. Hennessy asked if it's true that when the FBI asked for fingerprints of the children, she sent a text to another social worker saying, "How many bodies of a 3 to 4-year-old could they have?" Question mark. And she used the shrug emoji. Barton said that's correct. Oh, she's very unprofessional. Barton confirmed this message was sent before the eldest child's interview on December 28th. She said some of her text messages with another social worker were just conversation. Then Hennessy ended his questioning, and Tora Stallings got up and had Barton say that she and the other social worker did not discuss the alternate theory that Orrin and Orson were kidnapped. Then they excused Barton, and court was in recess until 9 a.m. So that's it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Today is Monday, May the 8th. Tomorrow, they're going to be back in at 9 a.m., and I will be here either tomorrow night or the following morning with that update for you guys so that you can stay tuned and stay up to date on what's going on in this trial. I want to thank everybody that's been following me so far, and thank you to those that are new. Please remember to go back and watch the older videos of the, days 1 through 17 in court. They're all, I think they're 15 to 20-minute videos. They're not too bad. So, again, thanks, guys. Y'all be safe and have a blessed day.